This is Ayurveda Health and Wellness Podcast, where you get to meet the best Ayurveda practitioners so that you can transform your life through Ayurvedic science. So, hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Ayurveda Health and Wellness with me, Hitesh Anand. We have Dr. Kanika Verma with us again. Today, we will talk about the topic that has been the most talked about topic lately, and that is related to germs and how Ayurveda perceives germ theory. Do Ayurveda believe in germ or not, and how does it relate to this entire concept of germs? So, hi, Kanika. Right. So my first question would be, does Ayurveda believe in germ theory at all?
Ayurveda doesn't believe in germ theory. Germ theory and terrain theory, they are two different theories. They've been in practice some 70, 60 years back. They were actively practiced in 18th century.
Okay.
These were the two prominent theories at this time. Right now, the germ theory is the most dominant one. So Ayurveda does not believe in germ theory, but Ayurveda believes in germs. It believes in existence of germs. And the germs are called krimi.
Okay.
And they relate to the worms and germs. The worms that are present, for example, lice. They are also classified as krimi. So there are two types of germs. One are external germs, the germs that are present on outside of the body, and they can enter body only when there is a cleavage or there's some kind of breakage in the skin and so on and so forth. And then there are internal germs, some germs that enter our body through food, through air. They don't need a rupture in the skin. So there are classifications of germs. Ayurveda believes in germs, and there is a proper term for germs in Ayurveda that is called krimi.
Okay, so
yes.
For our viewers and listeners, if you can kind of explain a bit of this concept that Ayurveda does not believe in germ theory and believes in germ. So what is the difference between, germ and germ theory?
Yes. See, Ayurveda believes in germs. That means it says that, yes, the germs exist. But it does not believe that germs cause disease. So, initially there were two postulates. One was the germ theory and terrain theory some 70 years back. And let us first look at these two theories before we jump on to what Ayurveda says, because these are pretty recent. So, the germ theory basically originated with Dr. Louis Pasteur. We must all know him. We all know him for the process of pasteurization. He invented it to make our food safe, right?
Yeah.
So he believed in germ theory. He was the major proponent of germ theory. He said that the germs, they enter our body and then they create disease inside the body. So this is the main principle of germ theory. At the same time, there was another person. He was called Anthony Beckham. And this person believed in the terrain theory, which says that the germs can enter the body, but they cannot cause the disease unless and until there is a weak tissue inside the body. So, the terrain theory, it says that the defective tissue attracts germs. And when there is a defective tissue inside the body, then only the germs can enter and they can survive inside the body. Otherwise, the germs cannot survive. And this, let us take the example of this COVID pandemic that we see today. For example, if I have a compromised immune system because of rheumatoid arthritis or diabetes or hypertension and so on and so forth, or because of old age, then the germs will enter inside my body and they will thrive. Because my immunity is low, I am not able to fight. But let's take your example. Your immunity is very high. You have very good diet, you have very good lifestyle, your immunity is very high. and then the same germ enter inside your body, the same coronavirus enters inside your body, and that coronavirus is not able to manifest itself. There are people who are carriers of coronavirus, but they don't show any symptoms. So why are they not showing any symptoms? If the germ theory is correct, then everyone with the coronavirus should show symptoms, same symptoms.
Okay.
Because germs cause disease. But some people, they show very, very, very bad symptoms. I've heard people who contacted coronavirus and their platelet count became 0. They face severe respiratory disorders and so on and so forth. But there are people who contacted the virus and they remained symptom free. So the only difference is their own body, their own immunity. So now we can say that probably germs are not the causal factor of disease. Probably, according to the Therian theory, what happens, the germs enter inside the body. If they find a weak tissue, they will thrive on it. But if they don't find a weak tissue, they will eventually die and they will be flushed out of the body. So this is the difference.
I guess that's what is happening in everyday life. It is inevitable.
Yes.
You can't, there's, I guess you can't live without germs. You're going to get germs at, every possible, whether you're touching a handle, you're going out anywhere, you're breathing, you are contacting germs, and it is happening with everyone every single day. It's just how your body reacts to those germs, and that is what manifests into disease or not, if you have the immunity. So I guess that makes sense. I mean, not just with the COVID case. I mean, it could be just any case, any germ infecting you. Okay. That makes sense. So in terms of, Ayurveda, how would you say, how would germs fit in with, the type of body one has in terms of doshas? How does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So see, let me again take the example of corona, this pandemic. Different people showed different symptoms. Right. So the same, it's not about germs. There's a compromised tissue. The most interesting thing is with the dosha theory that a kapha prakriti person will have a compromised respiratory system, because the kapha, this is the region for kapha according to Ayurveda. Okay. Pitta dominant person might have more tendency to have a compromised digestive system, because he is, the fire element dominant. So this, the lower abdominal area will be compromised in case of a Pitta Prakriti person. And a Vata Prakriti person, he will have the limbs and, the lower part of the body. So you see, in the same disorder, 3 people of 3 different Prakriti will have 3 different symptoms. Let me take the example of corona, this COVID-19. For example, a Kapha Prakriti person is highly infected with corona. Then he will have respiratory disorders. This will be the prominent symptom in that person. If the Prakriti is Pitta Prakriti, then he will have severe diarrhea and all these. The respiratory problem will be there, but it will not be the prominent one. The digestive problem, the diarrhea, the loose motions or acidity, burning, something like this will be more prominent. Indigestion probably. If the person has Vata Prakriti, okay, then he will have aches and pains and cramps and all these things, dizziness. So the prominent, all the symptoms will be there, but the prominent symptom might be different for all these doshas, right? So, and the most important thing is that how the virus manifests, in what part of the body virus manifests, what is the weakest tissue, that also is defined by a dosha. So that's why dosha theory is so comprehensive. I really like that idea of a dosha defining what body type you are, what diseases you can get, and what treatment is more effective for you. So likewise, the treatment also should be different for all these three. Whereas in modern medicine, the treatment is same for everyone according to the symptoms. So
yeah, that's right.
that's
I
the
mean,
way.
that's what I guess till now what we have heard about the treatments. It's pretty much same for everyone, and that's the most. I guess as for Ayurveda, that's the most interesting bit. How the treatment, the right. We always say that the right treatment should go to the right person, and Ayurveda focuses on that. How because first of all, it is important to classify that person, what kind of treatment he will be getting based on his body type. So yeah. Okay, great. In terms of Ayurveda, how does Ayurveda define germs?
Okay. So as I said earlier, there are two basic classifications. One is Brahma, Bahya. That means external germs that cannot enter inside the body unless and until there is a rupture in the skin, or other big germs like the lice and all. These are also called germs in Ayurveda. So basically worms and germs are classified together. And the second category, one is outer, one is internal germs. And internal germs are primarily of 18 types. They are classified in different ways. Say, for example, there are Kaphaj, Raktaj, and Pittaj germs. One category of germs, they survive on imbalanced kapha, polluted kapha dosha. And there is another category of germs that survive on imbalanced blood. When there is a blood disorder in your body, for example, malaria, it's primarily a blood disorder. So there are some germs, some pathogens that survive inside the body only when there is a defect in the blood. Some worms, some pathogens, they survive in the body only when you have defected mucus. Say, for example, cold and cough. Cold and cough is basically an irritation of the nasal chamber. Okay, so Ayurveda says that irritation is there, okay, but the irritation began first and then the germs came in to live there because it was so cozy for them. Whereas modern medicine says that the germs enter and they cause irritation. But the point is that if the germs enter and they cause irritation, they should cause irritation to everyone. Okay, but then that doesn't happen. Some people get cold and cough, some people don't get cold and cough. The people who get cold and cough, and there can be only one difference between these two people, is the irritation of nasal chamber, which began before the germs entered.
Right.
Okay, so so these are one is polluted kapha dosha, one is polluted rakta dosha, the blood, polluted blood. When the blood becomes polluted, it attracts malaria parasites. It attracts, the pathogen that causes malaria. So, and then the third type is purishaj, or defected fecal matter. Say, for example, tapeworms, ascaris, and all these worms that live in the large intestine. Okay, so these are also, they also come under the classification of creamy. And there's one very interesting thing is the shloka in Charak Samhita in Ayurveda. It is said that some of the pathogens are invisible. They are so tiny that you cannot see it. They are microscopic. And whereas some are not microscopic, you can see them. Yeah. So in the same way, in the modern medicine, we classify that some are microorganisms. We cannot see them. And some are big, like, for example, ascaris. We can see ascaris. We can see tapeworms. We can see other kind of worms like ringworms, hookworms, and all that. So, some are visible, some are not visible. So all these are different types of classifications. Their treatment is also different in Ayurveda.
Okay, so that brings me to the next question. How do we treat the germs through Ayurveda? Is there a practice on treatment as well?
Correct. So let me go back to the terrain theory. The theory which says that body, defected tissue attracts germs. So if I believe in this theory, if I believe in the theory of dosha, when there is imbalanced dosha inside the body, they attract germs. Okay, so the germs can find a loophole inside the metabolism, and then they can survive in it. So let me give you an example of a country that has very bad law and order. Okay, and because of the bad law and order, the terrorists enter inside the country and they are able to survive very nicely because the law and order system is already crumpled. So what should we do to correct the situation? I'd like to ask you.
I guess we should tighten law and order, improve upon law and order situation first.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. So, let me take you the example of Afghanistan. What happened is that they did carpet bombing there, right, to evacuate the terrorists. But what happened? There was an equal loss of civilian life. So the country was left poorer and weaker than it ever was. If we take the example of modern medicine, what happens? We give antibiotic to kill the pathogens. And what happens with antibiotic? The antibiotic, they kill the body cells as well. They make the blood weak. They make all the tissues weak. They have a very bad effect on liver, pancreas. So overall, it is like carpet bombing on the entire body, not only on the pathogens. Okay. But there is another approach that was followed in some state in India, that there was a lot of terrorism problem. So what the government did is to strengthen the local population. They taught local population to use guns, and because the local population knew that who is the terrorist and who is a civilian. Okay, right. So then the local population itself eradicated all terrorists without any single loss of life of any innocent civilian. So you see, if you take the second approach in terms of treatment, what if we empower our tissues to fight back? So you see, because our body knows that which cell is a pathogen and which cell is not a pathogen. So what if we empower our body, we empower our tissues to fight back? And when our tissues are empowered, when our immunity is strong, then naturally the body fights back and you get cured, and without any side effect, without any complications. You are healthier and stronger than before. So I believe this is the real treatment. This is not treating the symptoms. It's treating the body. It's removing the cause. And this is exactly what was said in terrain theory. The word terrain means the soil. Okay, so treat the soil, and then you will have a good growth. So in the same way, treat the body. So if I have to treat germs, if I have to treat malaria, I will not try to kill malaria parasites. I will not try to kill the malaria pathogens. Instead, what I will do, I will try to strengthen my blood. I will try to purify my blood, so that the blood, we already have enough mechanism inside the body. Empower the white blood cells, empower the monocytes, empower all these cells, and they will fight back, and you will recover. And we have seen so many cases like this. Just by the use of herbs like turmeric, ashwagandha, people have recovered, and without any damage to liver or pancreas. So this is the approach of treating all disorders in Ayurveda. Do not focus on the causal factors that are external. Focus on the body. Focus on the terrain. And I have heard this, that even when Dr. Louis Pasteur, he was on his deathbed, he said that there's nothing like germs. Focus on the terrain, focus on the soil. So that was his realization in the end, that, germs are endless. You cannot go killing them. Instead, protect the body, preserve the health. That is the ideal treatment.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this also, reminds me of how the government, especially here in UK, through NHS, tries so hard to keep people fit, and rather than treating the people when they become ill, because people are fit, they will not fall ill, and then the medical expense on NHS, the financial load on NHS will go down. So that's how, if government spends more money on keeping people fit, wearing them, helping them to buy, bicycles, or going out, maintaining the green area so that they can go out, and those kind of things. Then people will be fit, and the load on financial load on NHS will go down, and I guess that's what happens with Ayurveda as well. And probably government should think over adopting Ayurvedic practices as well, because that's how the Ayurveda is naturally.
So that's very correct. And there are people who do not believe in Ayurveda, and I quite respect their views. So it's not necessary. If you don't believe in Ayurveda, it's completely fine. But today it is proven that healthy diet and healthy lifestyle is the key to immunity. You cannot skip that and keep eating medicines. And especially this pandemic has proved that you cannot keep consuming insulin if you're diabetic, or some hypertensive medicine. You have to reduce your fat intake. You have to get better on a healthier diet. You have to make a change in your lifestyle if you really want to have a long life, because these pandemics, probably if there is another pandemic, we will not have the vaccine for it ready. So it's better to focus on our immunity and on our health.
Yeah, no, makes sense. So I guess that was a lot of information, good information, and a lot of value for our listeners and viewers about Ayurveda and keeping yourself healthy, and also so to understand that germs are not your enemies, rather your immunity becomes your enemy if it is not up to right level. So we have to make sure that we keep up ourselves healthy through Ayurvedic practices, rather than getting the germs, making your body weak, and then injecting antibodies and making yourself more unhealthy. So thanks a lot, Kanika, for joining in today. And I look forward to our next episode. And I am pretty sure it'll again be full of great knowledge and wisdom, which Ayurveda is all about. So thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed our podcast. Do not forget to follow us or subscribe. This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Towels, bringing Ayurvedic dyeing to the modern world.